The Overpolemical Podcast. The Overpolemical Podcast. The Overpolemical Podcast. 3, 2, 1. And we're live.
We're live. Hello. Welcome back.
Guys, we're coming at you from Warsaw, Poland. And
Once
today
again.
we got our first official guest, my old friend and really magnificent guy, Michał Proczka. And he's, I'm just going to fill you in really quickly. Student of 4th year of medicine here in Warsaw on the Medical University of Warsaw. And he does amazing shit in life. So we brought him in to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Hi,
Say
guys.
hello, Michael.
Hi.
Okay, so we don't know how to start this off yet because this is our first guest. So we're just going to start off with some big questions. And Michael, how was your day today?
That was pretty tiring
Okay.
because generally, to begin seriously, I am interested in surgery in general, mostly cardiac surgery. And today I shouldn't say it right now because I skipped my classes, which I shouldn't do, but I hope my teachers won't listen to it. And I went to the OR to help surgeons I'm friends with. And that was pretty tiring, but really worth it.
Okay.
Because I really enjoyed it.
What operations did you see today or attend? Do you also help out with them or do you?
Yeah.
watch?
I scrub in. We did 3 cabbages altogether. So
Okay.
that's quite a bit of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a difference because we're supposed to talk about, to compare a bit Poland and States. As far as I know, I had occasion to meet some guys from the US. Generally, in your country, the medical practice is much more developed than it is in Poland. In Poland, when you want to learn something, usually you need to do it on your own. You just need to. That's a country with opportunities for people who want to do something, not for.
Okay,
Yeah.
not for your average person. And how did you get into these operations, and how did you get into all these things? Because you have people that study medicine, but they don't exactly just jump in.
Hello, that's me.
Yeah, that's
So
me.
I've yet to experience something quite so practical.
So if you could just fill us in,
But
what
that's
did you
not,
do?
any big secret. I began my adventure with surgery actually in my first medical year because I met son of famous. No, it's not alive anymore. Professor Religa, probably.
Okay.
Guys in America don't know who is he.
He-
And then he was the first one to introduce me in the OR, and from then on, I just when you are interested in something, if you attend conferences, you go to the OR, you meet more and more people, and that's very simple. It works everywhere
Okay.
like that, and you just if you want to do something, you can do it. We have a bit different system that in States because generally Polish. We have in Poland a medical care system, which is based on public system and public fund, and that makes a bit difference because it's not as concentrated on money and as it is in the US. And thanks to this is also an opportunity for young people who want to do something because people are generally overworked. It's not well organized. So if you want and you are really determined to do something, you can do it.
Okay, just to fill you guys in, Professor Religa was the professor. I think he performed the first successful heart transplant in Poland.
Yeah,
Am I
he did
correct?
that, yeah.
Okay, just to fill you guys in really quickly in on that.
There's a famous picture. I think it was Time Magazine's photo of the year that year, where there's a picture of Professor Religa
Resting.
during his operation.
Or
With
after,
his
right
assistant
after.
asleep in the back. It's a black and white photo.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. I mean,
Yeah,
it
and
was
that
color. It was color.
It was
actually.
color,
It was
but
one
I-
of the first color picture. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
so
that
that's-
was in Poland, guys.
Yeah.
You saw that picture for sure because it's a really popular picture in the internet.
yeah.
Okay, so we started off.
But it's
with
also
that.
interesting to mention that Professor Religa actually did his first step in cardiac surgery in the US.
Okay.
Because he did an
Okay.
internship. He stayed there for actually 4 years, as far as I know, as far as I remember. So, because,
Okay.
of course, for you guys in the US, still, although you slow down, which we must say, still America remains the first country when it comes to great surgery.
Okay,
So
don't you
that's-
think that maybe the Chinese or any other countries kind of got ahead in that?
Yeah, they do. It's more because in the past, for example, in 1960s, 70s, when I read a lot.
He did his history.
I read a lot about surgery because I'm really interested into it. In those years, actually, there was America and almost nothing else because probably France was number 2.
Same with the moon landing, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah, really, because you had huge funds, surgery, medicine, is enormous money to do progress in it. Now, countries, European Union and other countries, they begin to speed up in medicine, but still, I would say that the funds are the biggest. There are enterprises in the US, and they remain number 1.
Okay. Do you have?
Is there any specific reason why surgery was what you became interested in? Like, what was the thing that attracted you to surgery?
Probably, I can't not omit the fact that my father is a surgeon, but I don't want to go into this. Yeah, it helps, of course. It helps even. I don't want to use his connections. I want to do stuff my own. It's not that I force him to introduce me everywhere. It's not a thing. But probably it helps me with imagination because I knew before what more or less is surgery about.
Did your dad ever take you when you were like younger? Did you ever get to see any?
Yeah,
any
I had occasion to see but it was just once or twice.
Oh, okay. So you kind of got into it on your own.
I just saw it, and then I just fell in love. I think that in life it is this way that the more you do something, the more into it you become. So that's why, for example, sport, like really, we are so excited about sport guys. But it's so boring, guys. They train like for 8 hours a day. They don't train. They don't score goals, fantastic goals. They do like really hard work. But I think when you get into something and you see the success, it becomes just really a huge pleasure. And the same thing here.
And going more into this surgery, me and Michał, we were talking a couple of days back when I invited him here, and you said that you are you are taking part in some experiment. You're doing something on rats. Is that correct?
Yeah. Here I need to be really careful what I'm saying because there is something called bio-commission.
Okay.
Commission on Bioethics. And so if they catch some of the words I say, I might have been in trouble.
So you can't really...
No, you can, but that's a step which actually really slowed down all the experiments. But that's true that I engaged totally by chance in a project in our university in Warsaw. There's a really cool guy, a scientist, who introduced us into the projects, and he he helped us to actually take part into a grant program. Mm-hmm. We received such a grant, which is not that big sum of money, but enough to perform your own experience. And I actually do one right now.
Okay.
I cannot go into details because that's a secret.
Okay.
Because we are, of course, doing it to write a paper.
Okay, but could you tell what you are trying to discover or...
We are generally working on chemoreceptors.
Okay.
Yeah, because as you probably noticed, I'm interested into cardiac system. I'm into cardiac system,
yes,
cardiac surgery. That's what I want to do most. So here it's connected somehow. Yeah.
Okay, so
we do we operate those rats, of course. That's the way we do experiments.
So we're gonna get Michael back here after you can maybe say more about this. After the commission lets you guys through.
Pleasure.
Okay, something that you can talk about for sure. Michael was in Algeria for his summer clinic practice this year, and that is something that not most people actually would even think of doing, going to Africa to do something like that. So how did you even get into that?
Well, I need to precise some things because that wasn't my official practice. I just went there to visit my friend whom I met on a medical congress. He's a resident in cardiac surgery there, third year actually. Yeah, third year. That was a totally different world of medicine. I really...
was it like even worse than in Poland?
That was far worse.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that because people there are really friendly, but it's really bad organized there.
Is it because of lack of funding, or is it more just?
That's a very strange country, honestly, because on the one hand they have money, on the other hand it's a country where, for example, they almost do not implant biological valves. You know why?
No.
Because look, the government said mechanical one is cheaper. So let's do just mechanical one.
Wow.
But you omit the fact that, there are some indications. For example, for elderly patients, it's better to implant a biological one
health,
because you don't need to take the special drugs.
Okay.
So
it's kind of misplaced. There's lots of politics.
Yeah, it's very
money.
Strange. It's a different mentality.
Okay, what about the hospitals? Are the hospitals clean?
They are
compare
not.
them to Poland, because that's something that we all know, and then we can compare that further on to the States. Maybe let's do that.
Guys, honestly, I'm really shocked. I feel after returning from Algeria that in Poland it's so cool. Really, the hospitals are so clean, so well organized. For example, I don't know if you know that in the entire hospital, and that was a university hospital, there was no soap.
Wow.
No soap at all. No soap at all. No stuff, for example, detergent to clean your hands, alcohol solution. No of it.
So how did the process of scrubbing in?
They did. They scrubbing in.
Okay,
they
so
did
in
just
that
with
case-
betadine, So
Okay.
that's it.
So an iodine solution, which gets the job done more or less, but probably not.
I would say that shows, but they don't have really problems with infections. There.
They don't?
They don't.
Because I think that's a pretty big problem in Poland, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The hospital-acquired infections?
They are, yeah. Yeah, because, but fighting with infection is very, very, it's a hard topic because, in my opinion, I'm not an expert because microbiology was the worst subject I have ever encountered. But I think, that we exaggerate in general with all this stuff against infections and probably by reducing the propaganda against infections, there wouldn't make any change, in the results.
So you're just saying that it's probably the same level,
Yeah.
only in Poland we just talk about it more, or something like that.
Yeah, or there are two explanations. Or they do not say about those infections, which is highly likely because the Arabic people are, they have different mentality. I love them there because they are really friendly, very open, but they have different mentality.
Okay, what city were you in?
I was in Oran. It's
Okay.
Oran. I know.
Okay, that's the capital, right?
Nope.
No, it's
the
not.
capital.
Algiers is the capital,
okay.
and Oran is the second biggest city in the.
Okay, and did you get to see the city? How
Yeah.
long were you there? How long were you there?
Almost 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks. Okay, so what's the I don't know how the vibe of the city? What does it feel like to be there? Is it like a typical Arabic state city, or is it more European influenced?
Well, it's very hard for me to say because I have never been to any other Arabic countries. That was my first time in Africa, first time in Arabic country. I heard that Algeria is not such a it's a mild Arabic country. I must admit, the first 2-3 days it was quite of a cultural shock, honestly, for me. I was really, really shocked by all the things because the way of life, mentality, food, everything is very, very different than in Europe.
Is it a country where Islam is powerful? Is it? I don't know if do they have.
It's vital. It's vital in the
Okay.
culture. It's
Do
present.
they have the Sharia law?
Sorry,
The Sharia law.
Sharia law.
Like does the Islamic law dictate politics?
Okay. No.
No.
So it's
At
more
least at least what they explained me. Like they didn't want, of course, to tell me everything because my host, which was a very, very friendly guy, and this is a very open guy because he had occasion to really visit a lot, probably even more. He visited more countries than I did. A European guy. He really I could see that he did all the very best to to slow down with the wonderful experience for me.
No, but that's what I hear people do. Like,
For example, he bought toilet paper for me, especially for me.
They don't use toilet
They don't
paper. They
use
just
it.
wash.
Yeah, they do
Okay.
wash. That's real. That's not a stereotype.
That's actually I think that that's they're not the only people that don't use toilet paper. Let's get into this subject.
like they use a bidet, like the they
bidet in Polish.
No, they have a small wash stuff too, and it's located in the next to every toilet, yeah, and
Okay.
they just wash themselves. I didn't really had occasion to observe how they do that, but I try to imagine.
Well, it is more hygienic.
Yeah,
than
it is.
the-
It's not, because
It's not.
Because look, you don't use soap. You do it just with pure
okay.
water.
Oh, that's
Only
not.
water.
So,
That's
yeah.
not.
It's not because you where all the bacteria they stay there.
Okay.
But like,
okay.
is that the same for women? Do you know?
Women, yeah, they don't. They
That
don't.
sounds like an absolutely horrible idea. Even like I'm currently taking microbiology. That just seems like.
Oh, so you are an expert.
I
but-
never took microbiology, and that sounds bad. Okay,
But it
so-
sounds
No.
like just asking for a UTI, like just begging for a urinary tract infection, and
Wow, that's actually.
because like,
But
never.
do they choose not to use soap, or do they? I won't ask if they don't know soap because they know soap for sure. But is this just like a cultural thing? That's just what
Hard
they do.
to say, you know. It's,
Wow, that's-
it's kind
that's
of a hard topic to ask them that much about because they'll be
what's up,
pretty
guys?
pretty funny, you know, that there was a Polish guy who came and is mostly interested how do they
Soap.
wash their, you know, their
Their ass.
That's
Okay.
their
Hey,
ass.
how do you
yeah.
wash your ass in Algeria?
Okay. Any other cool information that you got? Any other cultural differences? What about the woman? Do they have to cover up?
You know, like Algeria is a pretty liberal country.
Oh, okay.
It's like I would say 1/3 of women wear them. 1/3 it's something in the middle. They just wear, you know, slight one, and 1/3 is like Europeans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But there is, of course, a difference because, for example, I will tell you honestly. I hope my Algerian friends are not listening. I tried to go out with an Algerian girl.
Wow. Are they? Are
And
they
you know
cute?
what?
Are they cute?
Oh, pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they are, you know, exotic for us,
Yeah.
for sure. And you know, first we had a date. Everything was planned and arranged, and then she wrote me just like 1.5 hours before. Sorry, I cannot go out at 6 p.m. because my father told me he won't let me.
And how old was this girl? Was she 14?
She was 25.
Oh, okay. So she
Wow.
was not 14.
25. 25.
Okay, so she was
I'm correct.
over 18, so it was legal.
She was a resident. So.
Okay. So,
Wow. Okay.
So at what?
But
well,
was this? She didn't let her go out with you specifically, or she can't leave the house after 6?
Well, you know, I was too angry to ask about the details.
you should have went over and asked the dad. Like, excuse me,
guys,
sir.
imagine such a situation in Poland or
Yeah.
in States.
It's-
You have a date with a girl. I had one last week.
Wow!
And I
Congratulations.
just try to imagine that she answers me, sorry, I cannot go out with you. Fuck you, guy. Because my father told me not to go out.
Well,
Hey,
that is something.
That's a
different.
bummer. That's a
That
bummer.
had to suck. What about alcohol?
They don't drink at all.
Wow! So
Really?
you didn't get a chance to drink?
I
with them?
didn't.
Oh,
I didn't because no one drank, so I didn't want to. Even my host offered me to buy me wine, which is supposed to be really good in Algeria, by the way, because they don't drink it, but they produce a really good wine and they export it.
How do they taste it?
I don't know.
They just bring in white people from the
Yeah.
continent.
And look at the results.
That's a cool fact. I did not know that.
They don't.
They
well,
don't drink at all, really.
Okay.
For example, when you go out, you don't go out with your with girls. I mean, you go out in a team, like more
Yeah.
people in a group.
No squad.
You go out, just imagine 6 guys, and
That's
imagine during my stay, I went out like 5 times. I mean, my friend took me out. There was never a girl there.
Wow.
Wow.
So imagine you get bored.
One big sausage fest.
Really? Like
Really,
and
like-
no alcohol.
Guys, no alcohol and 5 guys.
Yeah.
that
How
is
can it
not
be-
fun.
Seems
How
like a
can it
recipe
be
for
enjoyable?
disaster.
How can it be
I was like-
enjoyable?
What about pork? Do they eat? Because
Oh, they know. No, it's a.
What
it's
about
a-
food overall?
It's a sin. It's a sin.
Is it good? Like the food overall?
The food is great. The
It has
food
to
is
be
great,
Shit.
although
I hate
the well, the way they eat it was quite a shock as well in the
they
beginning.
probably eat with their hands.
Oh, they eat with their hands. That's not such a big problem.
The
But
feet,
I remember,
they
you know,
eat with their
first
feet.
day, I came there, and there was mother of my host, which is extremely friendly woman, probably the friendliest woman I have encountered in my life. She prepared a special dish for us, and she took with her hand, which was like with fat on it and stuff.
You know, she was just washing
and
her
she
ass.
put and she put me that part of the meat, you know,
Uh-huh.
the stick of the meat, exactly on my plate with her this hand, and I was like,
Oh,
what
wow.
the fuck? I said, I will die in this Algeria. I will lose like all my weight. I will be just skeleton and muscles.
That's like the scene from Black Knight. There's this American comedy movie where he travels back in time, and the king takes, you know, he has this greasy hand. He takes the meat and just slaps it on his plate. So we
But
know
it's
where they got
crazy.
inspired from. But maybe it's because, but then again, you said that they don't have much infections. I think maybe it's because of what they eat. I mean, they eat lots of like spicy things. Maybe that somehow inflicts the bacteria or something
They
like
don't
that.
eat that many.
They don't?
No, at least in Algeria, not.
Okay.
No, they in their cuisine, national cuisine, there's a lot of, for example, stuff from France, which can be easily explainable. Because they were French department, not colony.
Oh, okay.
If you know that.
Okay, so what is the difference between?
Because department is part of France. They were département.
Because
Michael,
département. Okay.
Nice.
So they were officially like a part, the French state.
Yeah. Because
Okay. I did not know that actually. I don't think.
Guys, honestly, going into Algeria could be an extremely rich country if they wanted to. They have petrol, they have some minerals, they have climate which is perfect. For agriculture. Yeah, really. But there is a really terrible socialism there. So people, they don't work. They don't care. People just want to stay and do nothing.
So there's no incentive for them
No,
to
not
work.
at all. Not at all. Even in the hospitals. Yeah,
So
really.
what is-
The doctor's like, I don't give
No,
a
really,
fuck.
guys.
I'm gonna pay
Imagine there was probably the patient arrived in the operating room at 8:20. And guess what time did the operation start? Those are
11:30.
cabbages. So cabbage is coronary bypass grafting. So
Okay, so
very,
pretty
very
serious
common
stuff.
surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. 11:30. Let's go with that.
You did that.
Seriously,
Yeah,
11:30?
right on.
Really, like guys.
Bam! I could go to
You're
Algeria.
yeah.
Wow, and he was just like laying on the operation table waiting to be operated
No,
on.
they did
Oh,
all
wow.
the stuff, because there's like anesthesia and stuff, but they did it so slowly. No one was in a hurry. There was no coordination there.
Wow, so if you guys ever have a cardiac arrest and you're in Algeria, run.
It's really slow, People don't care because that's the problem with socialism. I could see that really well there. That when you have no motivation to do anything, the government gives you everything. You don't care.
And that, guys, is a very
interesting point. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why.
really, very friendly people. I really emphasize that. They were so. I have never in my life encountered such a group of friendly people. Everyone was, approaching me, asking how was my day, inviting me for tea, coffee. Guys who had never seen me in their life. Yeah.
What about their education? Would you say that they're, because you got to meet a lot of resident doctors, do you think that they are at like a European level, at least, educated at that level? Or
I can only, assess their practice, and probably it's also not perfectly because it's really hard. Because I could only see actually cardiac surgery residents and one is general surgery resident. I would say they don't operate enough.
Okay.
That's the biggest advantage of the US. The residents there, they operate. I lately saw statistics. They did like twice as much. In Poland, there was like a resident did on average 125 surgeries per year, and in States was 350 surgeries per year.
So that's basically a surgery a day.
Surgery is like a manual stuff. You need to. The more you do, the better you are. It's
and
very
this is
simple.
a great place to kick off about the residents in Poland. I think we can go into that.
It's a hot topic.
For those of you that don't know, lately in Poland there have been many protests. The Polish residents have been protesting that they are not paid enough money, and overall that the whole healthcare system in Poland is underfinanced. And here we have two guys that are future doctors. So let's hear something about that. So maybe
You go
let's
first.
start,
Okay,
let's
well,
start with Maciek.
from what I've heard, I mean,
You're more international. So.
maybe, but from what I've heard, the main premise of this protest was the fact that the healthcare system in Poland is underfinanced, which it is. There's no doubt about that.
Everyone agrees on that.
Yeah, I don't think you.
All medical fields. I'm here speaking for the physical therapists. Even if you ask a nurse, anybody, we're all underfinanced. And that's
especially, I mean, I think especially nurses and who else? Paramedics, for example. So the people. That's a very tough profession to be in, just because of the responsibility and there's very little upward financial mobility. So the residents in Poland, so the young doctors, have really come together and united from all over, from Wrocław, from Warsaw, from the entire nation, really. and they had a hunger strike that was going on for, it was 2 weeks, maybe longer than that.
Maybe they hit the 3-week mark. I think.
Yeah, but there was a gap in the beginning.
Yeah, there was a break
in
the middle, and so the way it was shown in the media was that these young doctors just want to raise their wages, which I think didn't quite properly show what the young doctors wanted, which was just a general increase in funding for the healthcare system. I don't know because you're slightly more further along in your medical education than I am.
Do you think that what they were asking for is maybe too much? Because they were asking, just so you guys know, I think the minimum wage right now for a resident doctor is around how many?
2.5 net.
2,500
Yeah,
zloty.
correct.
Yes,
yes.
Which...
2,400 net, I think.
Yes.
That's
so do the math, guys, if you want to get that in dollars.
Yeah, I wouldn't do the math.
What they wanted is
shocked.
they wanted a minimum wage of 6,000 zloty. I think that was one of the things that was talked about.
So even not $2,000, right?
Yeah, not really. And what do you think? Is this enough? Is this okay?
The guys kind of like, the thing is, like, in my opinion, this strike became too much of a show, and that's not the way it should be. Like, probably if they wanted to accomplish something, they should, like, half of the people in Poland or even more residents in Poland should leave hospital or stop working or do an Italian strike. That would give result, because every government is afraid of healthcare. So here there was more of a show, because if there are 30 people in the city center of Warsaw not eating, like, honestly, there may be TV which comes, but really people in government, they won't care that much, because it's just a show. Come on,
30 young people who are not eating for a couple of days won't change much. But
look what happened in the society. There were more of jokes than actually positive reaction of an average person. I don't say about like lawyers and doctors, because that's simple that they will go into and help. But
have you heard that? I've heard these rumors. Maybe I'm giving something away, but I've heard the rumors that is the next step of this agreement. That if they don't get a clear answer from the government about an increase in funding for healthcare, that the next step will be, for example, to not show up at work for some period of time. But that raises an ethical issue, right, for a young doctor whose duty is to.
That's a very, very hard topic, I think. I didn't hear yet about what you said. Probably it's true.
Yeah, maybe.
The changes are necessary, but I think the biggest problem is that all the residents and doctors they want a revolution in medicine, and I'm afraid there won't be in reality revolution. There may only be evolution, you see. So
more gradually.
Yeah, and that's also hard, because if you have extra 50 zlotys or 150 zlotys, it's nothing. Like,
it's nothing. Yeah, it's a joke. Like, seriously, it's an insult.
And the issue also with Poland, which we should I think address or mention, is that a lot of the Polish doctors are well trained. The universities here are pretty high quality on a European and international level. So oftentimes what young doctors will do is after their 6 years of medical school, they will go and be residents elsewhere. France, for example, or UK, or...
But they do, it's also like, here is very diverse, I would say, because we have a lot of theory during our study at university, far more, as far as I had occasion to talk with people from other countries, far more than abroad. And I'm not sure if it's that important. Probably, in my opinion, our university is concentrated more or less not on good things. Probably it should be also.
What do you mean? You
not enough practice. The groups are really big. Polish doctors are good. And they like us, because generally the harder you have, the better you become. So
yeah, of course.
If you have everything on, we say in Polish that you have everything on your plate. I don't know if we say that in English.
Yeah.
It's very easy. You become lazy. Like if you have a worse situation, you are more determined. It's like, I don't want to give myself as an example, but because
go ahead.
I'm totally not an example. Like, honestly, guys, I'm a crazy guy, but I try. I do my best. Yeah, which probably people in the US, they have it. Every one of them goes often in the OR and stuff.
And in Poland, that is not common.
That's it. Like really, it's like the surgery probably is the worst organized subject in our university.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like
okay, and now I have a question. Do you think that maybe this lack of practice during the studies during medical school is maybe connected to the lack of finances? There's not because I think it costs more to teach someone how to operate than to teach someone like
from
theory.
A book.
Yeah, from a book. Do you think this is connected?
Yeah, but because the doctors are not really paid for teaching, or they are really bad paid for teaching. Okay. It's a bit of a lie, So that's the problem. Because
here we swing back to the topic of underfinanced
in the US, I heard that there is a special guy, who is paid literally for arranging the treatment of young doctors, young students. So his main role is to arrange all that stuff. No one cares here about this. But yeah, our doctors, of course, then they go into work. They work extremely hard. So they learn. They have huge knowledge. They add to this all this stuff, practical stuff, sooner or later. Mm-hmm. But probably that could be, more efficacious. There should be more efficacy in all that efficiency, in all that training.
So if you could, just a personal question here, if you could change one thing in the Polish healthcare system, what would it be? Like, what would you?
Are we asking realistically, or?
I'm saying for one day, Michael here turns into God and can do anything to revolutionize the Polish healthcare system.
Sex guy.
Yeah, sexy girls.
Sexy
girls.
So hot nurses. Hot nurses. Really hot
nurses are pretty good. Yeah, really.
The nurses are great. I mean, I love doing summer practice just because there's a lot of young resident doctors, like 26, 27, very fit and ready to work and to help instruct. I mean, I feel like the summer practice is where you really learn what it's like to be a doctor, because reading microbiology textbooks only gets you so far and ends up not being all that useful. Or, for example, the anatomy knowledge you learn in first year. I mean, as a surgeon, you have as a cardiac surgeon, for example, there's certain things you have to know.
Or as a physical therapist. But not exactly as a doctor, like at your...
Yeah, I mean, if your
stage of
your normal,
education.
Your average GP probably doesn't remember the anatomy.
This is a thing in
third year student already does not remember.
Exactly. That's the thing in the whole, because in Poland also for a long time there was a conflict on the line physical therapists, doctors, because
what are you say it in Polish?
Our practice wasn't regulated. We weren't like a official.
Basically, that changed 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, basically,
that's an incredibly good change.
A couple of years ago, physical therapists were the equivalent of
masseurs or whatever you want to
call it.
like
your fairy godmother, where you regardless of whether you went to like a weekend class that said physical therapy
college,
or you did 5 year,
do the same practice.
Yeah,
and the thing is that was being blocked by doctors, because but not doctors like surgeons or like typical doctors, but by the whole orthopedic community.
Yeah, but doctors community. Well, let's be honest. Doctor community is also playing a bad role here.
Yeah,
it's
huge.
Like everywhere in the world. Like everyone thinks about money, So
yeah, of course. But
the more power you have, the more money usually you have.
Luckily, we pulled that through, and it's taking a better turn lately.
Yeah. And the funny thing about the doctors is they're one of the big protesters in this. They are highly against the protest of the young doctors, because the mentality is, since we had it so shitty when we were young doctors, you should have a shitty reality as well, which is quite...
That's a typical Polish mentality.
That's a very typical Polish mentality, I think. You don't find that in Sweden or Norway or...
Speaking about Norway, you are going to a special meeting in Luxembourg, right?
No, it's not a meeting. I just go there for a internship.
Okay, you're going for an internship for how long?
8 days, exactly.
8 days, okay. And what are you... Talk about it.
Yeah, it's
why,
just...
when?
I already had occasion to be in Luxembourg once. And
was it a similar internship?
Yeah. Well, I really liked it. The place is really nice to learn, because there are almost no young doctors there. So, and the work there is really well organized, because everything is based upon money. So the more procedures you do, the more you get paid. So, for example, surgeons, they do the procedures usually alone. You see, usually in Poland, they do 2 or 3 surgeons. There is a scrub nurse, let's say it this way, which is much better trained than it is in Poland, for example, because in Poland it just gives the tools. Okay, I don't say they just give the tools, because scrub nurse is it's a treasure if there's a good scrub nurse. But there, he or she really takes part in.
No, but that's true. I also
surgery.
had the chance to attend a couple surgeries through my studies, and that is true. I think that's mostly what they do here. They just hand out the tools. But that's the fault of the education system, not necessarily theirs. And so let's not get into that maybe too much.
So what do you plan on doing after? I mean, once you're done with your 6 years, do you know what your plans are for residency yet, or where you would like to?
If I go abroad or stay here?
Yes, that's basically what I'm...
Probably that's a interesting, which you can, even you will be more interesting to answer for you.
Possibly.
You have a very quick possibility, I guess, to return to the US.
Yes, I mean...
I don't know, I would like to stay in Poland, honestly. But probably going for 1-2 years abroad.
Sure, just to get the experience of being abroad and learning from a different system.
I would love to do preclinical surgical work, you see? So, like, doing some science and then...
But here in Poland?
Well, that may be a problem. But, on the other hand, I think we should be more optimistic, so...
Yeah, you still have a
year
know. And a half. You have 6 years, right?
Yeah. That's a good question. We actually don't know it yet.
You don't know when you're going to end?
Because there were some changes. They said that it will be 5 years. So I have all the stuff which was supposed to be in 6 years. I have it in 5 years.
Okay.
But I didn't really know what.
So you're not sure, because they were debating on whether to do the 6th year just a mandatory practice year. Yeah. Yes, like.
Welcome in Poland.
Yeah, so
guys from the US.
So everyone's not quite sure how that's going to work out yet, but I think we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, for sure.
As with everything in Poland.
When we meet again in 3 years, I will tell you
more about
how long did it last.
How long did it take? Okay. So anything else that we wanted to
I have a personal question.
Let's go.
Okay, so cardiac surgery, what would you say? That's I think that's a major cause of death, like myocardial infarctions and just heart disease and other heart-related issues.
I think
Especially
in the States, it's even worse.
It's even worse because of the obesity.
I think we're in
the
top 10 of Europe. That's not hard to be in the top 10, but I think we're overall we have a lot of heart.
Yeah, like every
problems.
country developed.
Yeah. So what would you say would be one risk factor that can be eliminated by the average person, like, because there are obviously certain risks like obesity or smoking or
that's I'm not that much into statistics and stuff, but I think as I observe cardiovascular patients, I would say smoking is in Poland a leading factor.
Okay, so Poland more so than obesity, for example, because
like people in Poland, they are not that obese,
no,
especially elderly people. So I heard that that's the difference with the US, because in extremely hard risk factor there is obesity. So that's
sure. So obesity, and that leads to possibly atherosclerotic plaques.
And their diet is also terrible.
Yes. But I feel like the Polish diet is also kind of. It's not
that
great.
healthy, guys.
It's not
great.
great.
What people mostly eat in Poland is we eat a lot of meat.
A lot of meat.
A lot
of vodka.
A lot of alcohol. A lot of smoking. And I don't think people eat much vegetables. I think that's the problem. We don't eat much seafood. We don't eat many herbs, shit like that. We mostly eat, like, what do we eat?
Well, the typical Polish diet, I think we can go through this together between the three of us. I think we can figure it out. Okay, breakfast.
Breakfast.
You get up. I would say
scrambled eggs.
Typical Polish breakfast: scrambled eggs and coffee.
Sausage. Yeah.
Even like the poor quality processed meat in like frankfurters. So the small sausage, which contains whatever mystery meat you might find there. Then what? What's next? Lunch. So I would say lunch is definitely
sandwich. So lots of bread.
Yeah, white bread, white or rye bread with some processed meat again. So some ham or some cheese, or ham and cheese. So what's next? Dinner. What's a typical Polish dinner? Okay, potatoes.
Potatoes, yeah.
Coleslaw.
Coleslaw.
Yes.
Coleslaw, yeah.
Or sauerkraut, which is probably one of the healthier options in the Polish menu,
true.
and some kind of a pork chop.
Yeah, pork chop. Yeah,
pork chop. Schabowy for those who are blessed enough to know what that is. So
it's like a schnitzel for the guys.
Yeah, it's like so you see that we have a lot of vitamins from the B vitamin group because that's found in meat, and that's about it.
But it's mostly potatoes, like just to sum that up.
Yeah,
vodka's made from potatoes, so
yeah.
We're a potato nation.
But I think it's getting better. Like
it is getting better. I'm just looking right now for some statistics about
penis size.
No, cigarette related deaths in Poland.
I was always wondering how we should count it.
How what?
Measure it.
Yeah, like erect or flaccid?
With curve or without curve.
It's a very interesting because
what makes it longer? That's how you should count it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because if you
just stretch
do it with curve,
technically the penile shaft starts in your body. So
that's true. So you can add some.
Just add a couple inches. We all do it.
I'll do it.
So what are you looking up now?
I'm looking at the current status of tobacco epidemic in Poland. I'm just interested, so we can dwell on this subject a little.
Well, I mean, even without the tobacco epidemic, living in a city like Warsaw, you're probably. I think it's
if you were smoking 2 packets a day.
That's the thing. We don't talk about it that much, but we do have smog right now.
Yeah, there's some pollution, some serious pollution. Well, I've heard this is. I don't know if this is science or fake news. But I've heard that living in the city of Warsaw, you and inhaling, you are doing the equivalent of smoking 4 cigarettes a day. So I don't know if that's a true statistic, but I think it's possible, especially
the thing is also that many people, apart from the fact that pollution exists, that's simple, but people really exaggerate and they tell those stories,
Yeah.
So we also need to be careful here.
But for example, in like the pathology department, you see when you see the analysis of like the lungs of an average city dweller, you see the carbon deposits.
Did you have an opportunity to compare?
Yes.
That's interesting because they only mentioned that, but I never had occasion to see that. I heard it's really interesting.
Actually, in anatomy, first year we had the comparison of a patient of a cigarette smoker, whose lungs were just completely looked like horrible because it was black.
Yeah, if you guys, for those of you that never saw it, if just look up a picture of smoker's lungs and healthy lungs, it'll really help you quit smoking.
Yeah.
It's shit.
And then we also just saw someone in our assistant asked us what we think is wrong with this person's lungs, and everyone assumed it was a smoker or someone who had quit smoking recently, but it turned out that this was just a person who lived in Warsaw and near the city center, where there was just a lot of
there are a few places which we know there is like such a rush there that
of course
I got some statistics, guys, here.
Okay, let's hear
this shit. The first one is adult smoking. 31 and this is from 2013, so this isn't really new, but you guys, just so you get an idea of the numbers, we have 31.8% more men smoke in Poland than on average in high-income countries, and the same thing goes for females. That's 24%, so that's like 1/4 of females more smoking here than in other high-income countries. And then this is another interesting one, children smoking. 12% more of boys and 8% more girls smoke here on average than in other high-income countries. And I think that's lowered. I don't think that's the correct number because, like, when you go to school here, everyone smokes. At age 13, who didn't try smoking?
I remember coming to
I
high
did
school.
At 6.
Oh yeah, but
he's a winner.
I think he won this contest.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, when I came to Poland, and that was middle school, so that'd be like 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
That's when I tried smoking. I didn't try smoking earlier in the States. Then again, in the States, it's harder to get anything, and this is Eastern Europe. You can get everything. But
you just go in and speak English and say you're a college student. I bought cigarettes at age 13 and sold them to my friends. So. Yeah. You gotta hustle somehow. But I remember that it was also shocking for me in high school. But when I came over here, the trend kind of changed. There was less cigarette smoking, and it was more the e-cigarettes. So
the second time
Vape
came here,
Nation,
right? Like in the last.
But even the
years?
first time I came, I mean, when I came to my first year of high school, I did my.
What do you think about the vaping, the
electronic cigarettes?
Do you think it's
if it's better?
I heard it's not.
But there's no data still.
Yeah,
because there's not enough data to support it.
There's no long-term use data.
I read in a paper that actually, particularly the flavored smoking can be extremely shitty for our health.
Wow.
Because on the other hand, here there is some chemical stuff going on. Which you don't really know and understand because we don't know the results.
That's a good thing. Okay.
The thing that
for sure it's not as good as people thought in the beginning because
of course,
it's banned everywhere right now.
Everywhere.
In the beginning, you could smoke it everywhere. Now, not anymore.
But the thing that they generally said about electronic cigarettes was that because you're not actually burning anything, it's less dangerous because it's more like a vaporizer.
Yeah,
for example, if someone has a humidifier or those air refresheners where you just spray something or you have
or deodorant.
an aroma diffuser. No, not quite like huffing deodorant, but if you have an aroma diffuser, it's more like that than actually burning something. But
that's why people thought it would be healthier. But it turns out not exactly.
I mean, it turns out we don't know,
yet, but
the jury's still out on that because there's no long-term studies.
Data.
So kids,
we are real doctors. Evidence-based medicine. That's long-term data. That's our number.
So kids keep smoking, and when you have cancer, then we'll check it out.
But is surgery one of the fields that is based on evidence-based medicine?
Yeah, of course it is.
Because there are some that are completely not. For example, gynecology, when it comes to like delivering birth.
Yeah.
There's no evidence-based medicine because you'll never have mothers agreeing to test. Okay, we're just going to try something different here with your baby.
But I think like the evidence-based medicine is a great, but I think only theory, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because of course there are many aspects which can be nicely checked, but more or less, I think that everyday practice does not always fit, the rules and guidelines, and that's what is the art of medicine about. That's why there are better and worse doctors if we have perfect guidelines.
Yeah.
There's no need for doctors then.
The problem is that there's diseases that don't fit the guidelines. So, however... Oh, I've heard something interesting that I don't know if this pertains to the issue. Do you feel like there's ever going to be a time when doctors are slowly replaced with, for example, artificial intelligence, where...
I hope we won't get to those times.
Okay. No, I've just heard recently of an algorithm that when it comes to lung diagnosis, lung cancer diagnosis, and within 2 months, this was a self-learning algorithm, which within 2 months was able to analyze the radiographs of lung cancer patients more accurately than a panel of 4 pulmonologists. So just a crazy off-the-wall idea there. But I don't think that surgeons... But I
think it's the technology which is very, very, expensive. And
of course.
Will make many, many more years to come.
Yes.
Why use a machine like that when you can pay a Polish doctor $2,500 a month and
exactly.
he'll do it for you?
Much cheaper. Much cheaper.
That's true.
So, yeah. Anything else that we would like to address? Because this is a fun conversation for sure. I think you're going to be one of our best guests for sure.
I think this is one of many conversations to come, just because this is such an interesting.
Yeah, we're going to invite you back for sure on that. That is sure. Anything else? I'll just tell you how I invited Michael here, because we've known each other for many years since I came here to Poland, and 2 weeks ago. Our friends had a birthday party, so we went there together, and we got like Polish people do. We got fucked up. And drank lots of vodka. And the thing is, here in Poland, which is not practiced as much in other countries, we were drinking vodka and using beer as a chaser. And that kind of got the best of us. And a couple hours later, Michael's younger brother had to rescue us by car because we were not going home.
It was our ambulance.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting fact that I've recently noticed. In Poland, what is the rule when you guys, like, if you were to drink 2 different alcoholic beverages, and one is a beer, and then later you were to drink vodka, what would you pick the order?
I believe in the order that you go from low percentage drinks to high percentage drinks.
I would do the same. My grandfather explained it to me when I was just 7. He told me, "Guy, never lower the percentage."
See, that's funny because in the U.S., there's this saying: beer before liquor, never been sicker. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Which is the complete opposite of what we learn in Poland. So,
in my experience, when you drop down with the percentages, you drop down to the floor. Seriously, I don't like doing that. So that's bullshit, guys.
Yeah, so don't drop down to the floor. Please
Listen
don't go down in
doctors.
percentages. Yes, we
have 2 doctors.
This is a
guys.
cardio
Listen
surgeon. He's a future cardiac
to
surgeon.
Polish
He
guy.
knows what he's talking about.
Cardiac surgeons, they drink a lot.
Yes, they have to. It's a stressful job.
Yeah, it is. But those are actually true statistics. That in surgeons, they are one of the top groups to be alcoholics, and that's a real statistic. Actually, I can pull that up for you right now.
Oh,
I will do that. And you guys.
I'm
can
wondering
talk
how is
about
it in the States? They drink as well?
I
Or
don't know.
doctors, surgeons there?
I think the difference with alcoholism in the States and Poland is you see it more in Poland, just because you have like drunks on the streets and stuff like that. In the States, I think people generally will drink in the privacy of their homes, and it's hard to see it. It's less of an open society, I think, when it comes to those things. But I'm sure that alcoholism is more prevalent in doctors than.
By the way, guys, I can tell you a really funny story about
Let's do
the
that.
medical knowledge of American guys. Probably that's not an average American guy, but when I was in New York City exactly 2 months ago, I went there with my grandfather, and we were walking, in the city center. And imagine, guys, that there were 2, we say drug abusers, who were lying and sleeping on the street, and there was like a cartoon. On it, there was written, "No one cares about us," and below it, "She really has a viral disease. She needs money for antibiotics."
Okay,
did you get it?
Yes, yes.
I
So
hope our listeners got it as well.
Caught on, but so, in case you didn't, in case of a viral disease, antibiotics will probably just fuck you up even more. I know this from experience. I've had mono. I've had mono, which was a viral disease, and 2 doctors prescribed me antibiotics.
Don't make love to him.
Yeah, don't
absolutely.
do that.
Yeah, no, I don't recommend it. No one does. Yeah. Okay. So, as a general rule, go up with your percentages. Yes, when you're drinking alcohol,
antibiotics.
don't take antibiotics.
We guys sound like preachers, really. Here.
Yes,
That's what we do. We preach.
we want to give you 2 things to live by for the next week, so that you can really take this to heart and remember this forever.
So if you listen to this podcast, you listen to Michael talking for the past hour, remember 2 things.
Yeah.
Up with the percentages and no antibiotics with viral diseases.
Exactly.
And I think that's how we're going to wrap it up today, because we have to get going, because we just have to get going.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you, Michael. It was a really fun experience. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.